Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of What If Civilization Started Over. In the last episode, we really only saw a couple big events, only two even on the map. We saw a big war breaking out up here between. It initially just started with Caucasia and Istanbul invading Crimea, and then Russia got involved, and it resulted in a whole lot happening up here. We also saw the island survivor group out here got invaded. And then we saw a lot of stuff with alliances, and probably most importantly, we saw uh, nuclear bombs being developed or already developed by many nations across the world. And mysteriously, three went missing from Caribbea's arsenal. Alright, but with that, let's get into this episode, which we see will be starting off up here with Baikal, going all the way up to the ideology map. I did not do it, dang it. Oh, I need to give these guys new ideologies. So, why don't we do that? Alright, so, after the big coalition happened on. After the big coalition happened on Baikal, their ideology was switched to democracy. In fact, all of the countries except for these two had democracies, because these two existed priorly and as a different ideology. They form back as communist nations. But these four here, they are all supposed to be. They are all the this. Why can't I think of the name of it? Um, they're all flawed democracies. There we go. I could not think of that, and I don't know why. These two are communists. So these guys are flawed democracies. Well, that changes with Baikal very quickly. They go back to fascism and will very quickly already begin to invade their brand new neighbor. And at first, the world's like, okay, fine. They're invading one country that borders them, and it's some of their core. It was some of their core territory too. I guess it's fine. But we see Baikal is going much further into this country than it should be. Like, this is all happening within a couple months. And as it turns out, one country and soldiers from this country, and also the gold team and even the orange team, report seeing supplies that are not from Baikal. Like, they're an outside nation's supplies. So it's quickly figured out Baikal is being supplied, but we don't know by who. But because they don't know by who, nobody does anything. But very quickly, we see Korea will not invade Baikal, but instead they invade the yellow team. And Baikal sees this as another opportunity to get quite a lot of land back. So what do? They invade down here too. They take this major city up here. And now countries start getting worried again. Because Korea's fighting not Korea. Baikal's fighting two fronts, taking a lot more than they should be able to. So we see another, but much, much smaller coalition forms. And it's a very small amount of countries in this coalition. Like, we only see 4 countries will join this coalition. The orange team here, these 2 blue countries, and not actually Red China, but the Dark Cyan team over here. And who is on Baikal's team? Well, the only country that they know of that is actually on Baikal's side is Baikal. But it kind of quickly becomes apparent where the extra aid is coming from. Libya, Seafoam Sudan, Eritrea, Kenya, and Tanzania. So, this isn't. But once winter arrives, the gear that Baikal is supplied with becomes a bit less useful. So these guys don't really have to deal with snow. They really only have desert supplies, so I think the Gobi Desert's more towards in this area. I don't remember though, so don't take my word for it. But anyway, still Baikal still has the advantage. Both of these countries' capitals have been captured, so pretty quickly we see this blue team falls, and then followed by the yellow team. Although Korea is the one that actually captures it. And now Baikal will focus in on invading these other two nations. Firstly, the orange team, who they do pretty well in. Once they capture the capital, it's kind of done for these guys. However, Baikal knows that they can't go much further. So they're like, hey, if you guys stop this coalitioning and, like, peace out with us, we can be good. Like, we'll be chill. These countries don't trust it at all, really. But they still accept because they know they're not going to win this. And it's probably better just to surrender over to Baikal now and not have to worry about being invaded. So we'll take a look at a very quick peace treaty. Alright, so here we have the peace treaty. Pretty simple. Firstly, this blue country gets fully annexed. Pretty much same down here. The yellow country is fully annexed. Whether or not it is by call, or, yeah. There we go. Alright. So all of this goes over to Korea. And the orange team is now the only country of these guys who is left. And of the, no wait, never mind. The orange team is the only one of the two New York countries that exists. Yes, I erased the coalition. And I gotta erase capitals. Alright. That is definitely the right. Not so. It should be like that. Alright. But for our next event, we now go down to Africa as we see another major war breaking out. This time, there is 2 players in this war. But we see Mozambique, of all nations, is going to declare war and invade South Africa. The main reason for it being they want direct access to the Atlantic Ocean. They kind of have to go just a little bit of a lengthy way. So they're going to declare war on them. But this doesn't exactly go to plan at all. You see, turns out that the fascist African alliance knows these guys are going to be of strategic importance if they ever want to beat Mozambique. And they really want to beat Mozambique because they took a bunch of land out of Tanzania. So what we see happening is we see the fascist African Alliance will get involved. They declare war on Mozambique. However, Baikal, after just finishing the war, will not be getting involved in this. But we also happen to see the Circle Alliance will get involved as well. So you have the Arrow and Circle Alliances getting involved, plus one other country. However, we all know the Circle Alliance is not going to be the Arrow Alliance, which is why the Arrow Alliance thought of or the Circle Alliance thought of the great idea that ends up working very well. They get the crosses involved in this, which none of the crosses actually border these guys, but they can definitely help out. And most of the Pentagon Alliance members are pretty close with a lot of the Cross Alliance members, so they also get themselves involved. And we see this playing out pretty chaotically. But we've just been having major war, the Great Atlantic War, and then another major war that I forgot what it was. There's another major war, but there's been a lot of major wars recently. Not just like, oh, Caribbean Blue Chile invaded this country. I'm talking about like bigger than the Baikal coalition level war. Get the two African wars, and actually a third African war. I think the first two were African. I know though at Great Atlantic. Oh, I'm getting too off track. Let's get. Let's actually do this. All right. So the gold team pushes through this. They push through what to call this country? Namibia. I think this is like Namibia. South Africa. Maybe they're more Angola. I don't know. We'll call them Angola. All right. But anyway, they invade them. They push deep into this country because why wouldn't they? These the gold team here is far stronger than any of the other members over here. Take a look at the power rankings. They're 14th, and the strongest of these members is 17th in the same kind of vicinity, but still far stronger. Plus, these guys also have support from 21st and 20th. Then there's 19th, 18th, and 17th all in a row. So this war is actually pretty even, although I would say it favors the Circle Alliance. Although, maybe not, because the Circle Alliance is more spread out. These guys are kind of, they only have to fight there, there, and there. Oh, alright. So, we see but the gold team, yet, is just, they're easily able to push through the green team in the south, because despite having declared war and being fascist, these guys the African nations up here do not have their military ready at all. But, well, other than one nation, which is Tanzania. So, as part of a quick surprise invasion, we see Tanzania pushing through around Lake Lake Victoria. I did not forget that you did. But they push around in Mozambique. They take a lot of land in this stretch along the lake, or along this lake. And now we see the first fighting in other parts beginning as it's actually West Africa that invades Libya. So Libya's not too happy about this at all. And we see Libya will, instead of stopping the forces in the south, in the, actually, probably this is, I don't know which is the better region of these two. I think this is actually probably the better region. But they will focus their forces up north here. So these two are going to be back and forth a lot. But, it's always going to be a but. We actually see not one but two new countries have joined the Circle Alliance kind of during when this war starts. The first country, right up here, is this Nigeria country. And I don't know what to call them at either. The other country was actually Blue Chile, although they were already involved in this war. But another country has also joined this war, which is definitely going to make things a lot weirder in this war. It was Yemen. These two historically have been decently close, but they've been drifting off from each other. So, but with the entrance of Yemen into this war, we see them quickly being able to take over all of Arabia, not actually making a naval landing, but here they quickly take over all of this land. And this is obviously a complete surprise to these guys, and also why were they able to take over that much land so quickly? Nobody knows. There's no signs of like outside territory or like outside uh stuff. I don't know. Back down here, we now see the gold team will begin to push into the southern part of Tanzania. However, we also see the Aero Alliance has made a very big mistake and not being prepared at all for this war, as the weakest of their members, and the only one that's not in, or second weakest, only one who's not in, or one of two that aren't in the top 25, although they are close. We see Somali, or not Somalia, Somalia's the Cyan team that used to be up here. But we see Kenya they are they're being taken out very quick. And pretty much right as the capital's captured, we see a very major event happen. Ethiopia comes back. I know this isn't the actual color, but still, Ethiopia will decide to revolt against the Kenyans here. These two have long hated each other, and seeing as also the purple team is weakened, instead of going off as their own nation, we see the Cyan team that existed here will join with Ethiopia. They've also been really close for a long time. But we see this small nation, this once large nation, will make its return. And that means all of the countries, or all of the 5 starting countries are now back on the map. Although most of them are weakened-ish. But if they're not small, they're a top 10 power, so that's gotta say something. Anyway, we see Ethiopia will begin to invade back into Kenya, and even and what we see happening here is a lot of the forces Kenya had were stationed up here, but they are joining this revolt. Um, like they kind of know like Kenya never treated any of their soldiers good. Even not during times of war. Like the uh their members were always like poorly fed, poorly paid. Even they never they never had anything like most of them would have just quit if they had the chance. But if you quit in the Kenyan military, you were executed with your family watching, and then they die too. So very gruesome. I did not need to go into detail about that, but uh, it's but it just goes to show like Kenya is like one of the worst countries to be in at this time. But we actually see this war coming to a much quicker of a close. And we see the fascist African alliances failing very badly. And we see the very big reason why they're failing so badly. As, yes, it does turn out Yemen was being aided by none other than the Mesopotamians and the Persians. They both joined they both joined the Circle Alliance during the war. Although they don't plan on staying in the alliance, they have their own plans, as with Yemen ish. Yemen's a bit of a different story. But they both join and begin sending troops into these fascist nations. Libya, once realizing this, will completely pull out of West Africa, which makes things a lot better over here. West Africa is hopefully going to get their land back. But we see them pushing up through here. They make a spearhead straight for the Mediterranean, where they eventually reach. And once this part is split off, we see not just West Africa, but also Catalonia invading this territory. Catalonia makes a landing much further out, and that's because this land here was also occupied by the Monaco nation. I don't know. South France, maybe. But the rest of this goes or falls over to Catalonia. So it's odd, but it helps them out. It helps out a lot. So no one's or only the fascists are complaining. But soon after, Libya's capital is captured because West Africa is getting aid from Catalonia and all of the North American cross alliance countries. Thus, the South African aid is going down here, and especially to the one only front that the fascists had going for them, which is right here. But that lasts no longer, as eventually Tanzania's capital is also captured, and the only capitals remaining are of these two. Eritrea, however, did not. I guess they didn't like the idea of having a capital, so Yemen took it for them. And we also see their country kind of getting split into multiple pieces. We see Mesopotamia taking over a lot of land up here, and also making repeated naval landings across this area, especially moving out to take this major city, and once again splitting the country. Although it's kind of not really split, because they have these guys. They have Seafoam Sudan. But we see the fascists realizing, hey, we're not going to win this war. But Mesopotamia soon falls, or Mesopotamia. Eritrea soon falls, as does the Kenyans. And before Tanzania, Seafoam Sudan, or Libya completely collapse, we see these nations all surrendering. Although they seem to, the peace treaty, it is well, it's going to favor the fascists as we see it being held in India. But anyway, let's take a look at a peace treaty. Alright, so here we have a look at our peace treaty. And remember how I said it's not like it's gonna lean towards fascism. Up here it kinda does a bit more. Not it doesn't as much in the northern parts of this. As it turns out, India doesn't actually like Eritrea that much. But there is another country that they do extremely like, so we'll see what happens with that. Uh, so that there, and so can that. Alright. So you see the green team here getting all this. Alright. They also get this a little bit up here. We see the West Africa. West Africans get a lot of this land up here, getting a lot of the coastline in this region. Libya gets this little bit back here as well. And then we see Catalonia getting the smallest amount of land, which really makes sense because they're communists, so. Alright. But we see West Africa now reaches back to the Mediterranean, so that's good for them. Alright, let's move over here. Like I said, Eritrea isn't very favored. However, it is a fascist ally. Or, they're both fascist. So we see those two bits getting regained. Ethiopia is probably the biggest hater of all time on fascism, but they still get quite a lot of land. However, no, they do not hold on to that island. And they will remain with their old capital. I forgot to get these these guys back. But Ethiopia kind of looks a bit more normal now. Oops. Right. But we see Eritrea will exist in this. Alright, we'll go back up there in a second. Alright, so you see the gold team. They get quite a bit of land, but they only get land in the south, which they're still kind of happy about, because they got what they wanted, but they didn't get like, anything else out of it, so they're still a bit mad about that. And now this is where we see the favoritism really coming in. Out of all of this land that Mozambique occupied, they get that. Out of all of this land Tanzania occupied, first they get that returned, and then they get all of this. I'll go back to that one. They get all of this back. Just like they got invaded up here, at least. And they got way more land than they should have. So Mozambique and a lot of the other communist nations are really pissed about that. And understandably so. But the fascist regime is they kind of died out, but they kind of didn't at the same time. So they still got some land up here, but they really died out more than they gained anything. All right. Oh yes. I'll just get Sumatra's color back, or not Sumatra. Kenya's color back after that. Did I call him Sumatra earlier? Okay. Okay. And because I definitely didn't forget what I had next. All right. Um. All right. So the Circle Alliance got involved in that war. So we're going to go back to the alliances actually, and a couple members are going. Well, Mesopotamia and Persia, they never fully going to join. So you see that happening. Right. But we see one more country joining the Arrow Alliance, despite it just losing that big war. These guys down here join. And here we see another kind of odd event happening. We see a new alliance forms. The Cross Alliance. No, I already have Cross. So how could I not see that? I have a lot of alliances up right now. We'll do the Parallelogram Alliance. Alright, so a new Parallelogram Alliance forms. Starts off just Persia and Mesopotamia, but we quickly see three more nations will join. Tibet, the Gujarat nation, I still don't think I'm pronouncing that right, and Yemen. Now, what do all three of these countries have in common? Well, they're all post-RPGAU members. So, yeah, no, eyes are, like, people are kind of perking their heads at what's going on with this. But notably, we also see Ethiopia then soon after joins it. Alright, but now we go to the Circle Alliance because after winning that war, they definitely gained a bit of traction, specifically from these two small African nations here, and also a couple of nations, not just in Africa or the Americas, but we also see the first country that joins us is Myanmar, and then we see these guys here, Red China, the Blue China, Orange Japan, and Green Japan. And why? Well, the Trapezoid Alliance kind of deforms itself. They merge with the Circle Alliance. So it benefits all. It benefits both both of the alliances, and greatly at that. But of course, there are also still some other members joining, like British Columbia up here joins. You see the yellow team here joining, and very notably, Brazil joins. And we are going to do a quick nuclear update. There are many nukes developed. However, we do see two nations that currently don't have nukes develop nukes. But we'll start off with countries that do have nukes. All right, so Tanzania, they get one more nuke. Mozambique doubles their nuclear arsenal. All right, these two here, we see both of them developing 5 nukes, meaning we now see Mesopotamia being the first country to reach double digits in nukes since post World War III. We see Persia, I just forget, They have 6 nukes, I believe, now. They'll have 6 nukes either. Alright. Over in South China, we see them now having a total of 5 nukes. Of course, Sumatra is going to be the new, well, one of the newest nuclear powers in the world, but they will have, no, they're going to have 9 nukes. Um, we see West Africa will develop the first nuke, or the next nuke. Russia up here. Wait, did I get rid of it? Okay. Alright. Russia over here. They now have 5 nukes. Whoops. They developed quite a few. Alright. Caribbean here. Well, they didn't actually get their 3 nukes back. They are still missing 3 of their nukes. Nobody knows where they went still. So, that's still very concerning. Alright. The Adriatic Union is the first country of the 2 new ones to develop new nukes. They developed 2. The other country that develops nukes is, of course, India. Alright, so I think this is the second time now. We have power rankings. We see the top 5 nations all staying the same. Actually, top 6 even. 7th stays. 8th, 9th, both stay the same. If I can remember who's in 8th and 9th. Well, I know 9th stays. Korea's 8th. 10th, we still have Switzerland. 11th is still Sweden, but 12th is not Russia anymore. So everyone beyond 12th is getting erased. I am here. Alright. Wait, did I erase the 13th? Alright. Oh. Oh, and India. I forgot India. And Ireland was 13th. Alright, so the new 13th strongest country is actually going to be, or 12th strongest is actually going to be Mozambique. If we get the right color out. Where was it? There we go. You can just do this, actually. Maybe I can. Alright, so 12th is now Mozambique. You see, 13th is still Ireland. I'm going to move this into the water so it's easier to see. 14th, we go to India for. The old 14th moved as well. In 15th, we see Russia. So they didn't fall too far behind, but they still fell quite a bit. Alright. Now, jumping up from wherever they were at, all the way up into 16th place, we have this green central China. It's a very high jump. I know they were in the 20s or something. So, very high jump for them. And also good for them. Alright. In 17th, we actually see is Libya up here. Despite being the one that lost, or one of the ones that lost the land, they are still very high ahead compared to the other members of their alliance, at least. In 18th, we see Caucasia, and here's where we see our next drop, which isn't to the lowest point yet. In 19th place, we see Brazil. Better. Alright. Yeah, it's going to be better today on the country. In 20th, we see Michigan's moved up a spot. In 21st, we see Tanzania. 22nd goes to Seafoam, Sudan. 23rd actually goes to Tibet. 24th. Yeah, 24th goes to Istanbul. They got back up here. And in 25th, which is where the final drop is, we have Catalonia. I think Catalonia. Alright. Alright. So that is our updated power rankings. And now, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.